Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is how to attract a Sagittarius lover. I am a sun in Sagittarius. I am with a man who is a Sagittarius, and we've been together for a very long time. So I think I know how male and female Sagittarians think and what we are attracted to. The first thing you need to know about Sagittarius is that it is a mutable fire sign. So Sagittarians tend to have a lot of passions in life. They tend to be versatile in that regard. And so it's very important that you have things that you are interested in as well. And that you're not just somebody who goes to work, comes home, and doesn't have much of an imagination. All fire signs are naturally creative. And so they tend to like people who are also creative, who you can talk about ideas with. And this is particularly true. The mutable signs, Sagittarius, Gemini, Virgo, and Pisces, are kind of like the idea signs. And they tend to, concoct all these crazy ideas and schemes. And they love to talk about them with each other. So if you're somebody who is excessively, or I was going to say inherently, but I said excessively, practical minded, you might be like, oh, you can't do that. And you might be kind of poo-pooing what they're talking about. But the Sagittarius person isn't going to appreciate that much because they want to dream. They like to dream, and they like to dream big. One key word for Sagittarius is freedom. And so even with people who have a monogamous relationship, there has to be that basic sense of trust that the two parties can roam free. And sometimes we're literally talking about roaming the world over. If the Sagittarius person has caught the travel bug, and maybe the other person has to work or they don't want to go, there has to be this sense of allowing the person to do whatever makes them happy. And if you're the kind of person who wants to always be doing things with the Sagittarius person, and you feel threatened if they have interests that are apart from yours and do things by themselves, I don't think it will work out in the long run, because I think it's healthy for all of us to have things that maybe we're into that the other person isn't, and that we don't have to be joined at the hip all the time. And a lot of times when people are uncomfortable with that, it's because it is really that they feel this sense of insecurity that the other person is going to cheat, that they're going to grow apart. It is true, however, that, as I said in the beginning, if a Sagittarius person has certain passions and you do not have passions in life, you just are kind of a basic person and you're not really that interested in ideas or books or any kind of cultural endeavors, and you just want to live life on that level, the Sagittarius person may not think you have much in common. And I do believe in relationships we have to have things in common for sure, but we don't have to have everything in common. And the other party has to be secure enough to be okay with that and to allow the Sagittarius person a long leash to pursue whatever it is that they want to do. A Sagittarius woman, because I am one, so I can say it from my perspective, tends to treat men like their friends. I remember when I was younger, I didn't really even want female friends. I just wanted to hang with the guys. And this is probably because Sagittarius is a masculine sign. So if you notice fire sign women, Aries, Leo, Sag, and air sign women, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, this can also be true of them. And the point being that they tend to identify with some of the traits of the men versus the women. They tend to be more yang in terms of extroverted. Now, that's not necessarily the case. Some of us are more introverted, but we still have interests in the world rather than mostly domestic interests. So outward projection, and also this sense of being very assertive rather than passive. That's another trait of yang or masculine energy. And as a result, if you're somebody who's insecure, if you're like a man who's insecure of his partner being friends with a man and it being a platonic relationship, you're not of the belief that that can ever occur between men and women, then that might cause issues. Although I will say that as I grew older, I began to see things a little bit differently. And I heard somebody say once, I don't know who it was, that with these types of male-female platonic relationships, the man is always really trying to get the woman, even in a subtle way. And I discovered that that was kind of true. And then that made me see it differently, and I wasn't as interested. And also, as I grew older, I became more sophisticated in being able to understand that women are not the enemy. So it was something within me that I had to kind of work out for myself. So I think that what this boils down to is that Sagittarians do not like jealousy and possessiveness. And you would think that all signs are like this, but that's not necessarily the case. There may be signs, especially feminine signs, earth and water signs, who think it's a sign of the person really loving them and caring about them. And to some degree, sometimes it doesn't get obsessive, and it's just this sense of, you're my partner and we're together, and it doesn't, cross the line. And so it might even be kind of sweet. But for Sagittarius, it's an affront to their freedom. And so they see it as a threat, not as something that is positive. And another thing that I would say is that Sagittarians tend to be blunt. So if you are a water sign, like, the first sign that I was thinking of was Cancer. If you're a sign that tends to be sensitive or maybe even a little bit hypersensitive, let's keep it real now, you may really clutch your pearls and be taken aback by Sagittarians because they tend not to sugarcoat things. They tend to be just like in your face with the truth about a situation. I personally have had to learn how to be more diplomatic. I almost laugh at that because I just did over my Scorpio video for this series because I was being very blunt, but I wasn't being very balanced, I don't think. And so saying whatever comes to their mind, it's almost like a child, is a trait that Sagittarians have to work on. But you have to understand, if you're dealing with a Sagittarian, especially if they're on the younger side, maybe in their 20s, or even some cases 30s, where they still are learning how to interact with others in the most effective way possible. They still can retain that tendency to blurt things out and to just not think about the impact of what their words have. But remember, too, that you have to be honest. Sagittarians really value honesty. And if you're the kind of person who doesn't want to be straightforward And in the similar vein, if you're the kind of person who doesn't like to talk much about yourself, and I'm talking to you, Scorpio, you may come across frustration from Sagittarians who are very open themselves, and they expect other people to be open as well. But if you're somebody who doesn't like to talk, period, I don't think that's going to fly, because Sagittarians like to talk. Maybe not as much as Geminis, but quite a bit. Okay, well, that's what I have for you, and I hope that you enjoyed this. Take care. Bye.